Replayability is one of those words that sounds good no matter how it's used. It feels like proof that a game respects your time. We hear it constantly, whether it's endless replayability, hundreds of hours, a game you'll always want to come back to. And for a long time, I thought that was the goal. If a game ended quickly, I felt cheated. Like I was scammed out of my money because the game ended too quick. But lately, I've started to notice something different. Some of the games I've replayed the most are the ones I remember the least. I'm not talking in terms of memory, but in terms of how hard the story hit me. And some of the games that still sit with me years later, I only played once, like What Remains of Edith Finch. Replayability didn't always mean longevity. It used to mean curiosity. You replayed a game because you felt like there was something you missed, a different choice, a different way of understanding what just happened. The second playthrough wasn't about efficiency, it was about perspective. You weren't grinding, you were reconsidering. That kind of replayability wasn't about repetition, it was about transformation. The game didn't change because the system was deeper, it changed because you were, and you wanted a different perspective of the game. At some point, replayability stopped being about discovery and started being about maintenance. Daily objectives, rotating content, progress bars that never quite reached the end. Instead of asking, what does this experience mean? Games started asking, how long can we keep you here? Replayability became less about returning with intention and more about never actually leaving and just keeping you stuck and stagnant. And the longer you stay, the less space there is to reflect, because reflection usually happens after something ends. Replayable games are comfortable. You already know the controls, you already understand the systems, you don't have to relearn or know how to exist in a new world, because you've been there for so long. That level of familiarity can be grounding, especially when life outside the screen feels so overwhelming. But comfort isn't always the same as fulfillment. It's important to realize that comfort keeps you occupied while fulfillment leaves a mark. Nowadays, when devs target replayability, they often prioritize stability over impact. It keeps you busy enough that you don't have to ask the questions of what you're really feeling. But sometimes the most meaningful experiences are the ones that don't give you anywhere to hide. No comfortability, but new experiences, new perspectives. We've already been trained to believe that time equals value. If a game lasts 100 hours, it must be worth more than the one that lasts 10. Even if 70% of those 100 hours was just you grinding for loot. It doesn't matter because you spent more time on the game, right? But think about how much of that time not only you genuinely remember, but also value. Not what you completed, but what actually stayed with you. Some games are precise, focused. They don't stretch themselves thin to justify their existence. They trust that impact matters more than duration. And they end when they've said everything they've needed to say. No filler content to keep you in, no cool loot to try to keep you grinding. Just value, just impact. Replayability asks, can I do this again? Emotional weight asks, did this change something in me? A game can be endlessly replayable and emotionally invisible. Another can be linear, short, and unforgettable. Replayability keeps you inside the experience. Emotional weight follows you out of it. One fills time, the other reshapes memory. And I think we've started valuing the wrong one. A lot of modern replayable games are built on a system, an emotionless, step-by-step system. More builds, more loot, more variations of the same task. Systems can be engaging, they can be satisfying, they can even be fun for a very long time. But systems alone don't create meaning. And you could argue that some people don't care about meaning, some people just want to have fun. And to them, I say, fine, to each their own. But for me, without emotional stakes, replayability becomes noise. Something to do instead of something to feel. There's no depth. Depth doesn't come from how many ways you can repeat an action. It comes from how much weight that action carries. Endings are unforgettable. They force you to stop, to sit with what just happened, to exist without another objective immediately waiting. Seeing credits roll is one of the rare moments where a game stops asking something from you. No tasks, no reward, just space, just time to reflect. Replayability often removes that space and it turns endings into suggestions instead of conclusions. It's like imagine watching a movie with no end. as nice as that sounds, let me tell you, when everything is designed to continue forever, nothing is allowed to land. Nothing even has any meaning. A game you only play once isn't disposable. It's complete, a beginning and an end, and a full story for you to reflect on. Some experiences are meant to exist in a specific moment of your life. Trying to endlessly replay them can actually weaken what impact it made on you the first time. Not every story is meant to become a routine. Not every world is meant to feel familiar. Sometimes meaning comes from knowing you can't go back. I do understand why letting go is hard. I'm not cold. I definitely understand that having such a nice experience feels so nice in the moment and you want to have that feeling forever. You want to keep it. But letting a game end means accepting that it did its job, that it gave you what it could, and you're allowed to move on. A lot of people often fall into this trap. Replayability offers the illusion that you can keep extracting value forever, that as long as you keep playing something and you put so many hours into it, you just keep getting value from it. And in my opinion, that's just simply not true. Sometimes value only exists once, when you're fully present. Staying too long can blur that memory. Leaving at the right time can preserve that memory. While I understand that some games are meant to be lived in, this video is meant to give you the perspective that others are meant to be passed through. Replayability isn't the problem, that's not what I'm saying. But treating it like the ultimate measure of quality, that's the problem. Not giving these amazing games a chance because they're too short is just not right. Like I said before, not every game needs to become a habit. Not every game experience needs to justify itself with hours. A great game doesn't ask how long you stayed, it asks what you stayed for. Maybe replayability is overrated because we're afraid of endings, or maybe it's because we are afraid of wasting our money and want to make sure that we get the most value out of a game. But I'm telling you, these games that are short and sweet are beautiful if you just give them a chance, and don't always measure something by the amount of time you give it. Endings ask us to be quiet, to reflect, to move forward without distractions. But maybe that's where games matter most, when they stop giving you things to do and give you something to think about instead. You don't need to replay every meaningful experience. You can keep it a memory, keep it in the past. Some of these memories only need to happen once, and if they were honest, that would be enough. Thanks so much for watching. If this video made you think, leave a comment. I'd love to have a discussion with you. If you disagree or agree, let me know. Thanks again, and see ya.